Hi, everybody, and welcome back for another episode of Unpacking with Sarah. I'm your host, Sarah Westbrook, and I'm excited today about the topic Maslow's food and shit. And really, the challenge that we have with today's show is that you already know all this stuff, and people repeat it over and over and over again. Well, I'm going to tie it in a little bit to your mental health rather than weight loss. And that is on that bottom rung. So, Alex, if you can go ahead and pull up I'm going to call it the boring Maslow chart here, the one without, yes, this is the boring one. I'm a very visual person. So, we've talked about Maslow, I believe, in other shows. So, let's just introduce this first really quickly. And that is that Maslow's theory and what appears to be true based on years and years of research is that in order for us to function at our best in our frontal cortex, where we are truly in control of our actions following triggering events and whatnot, is that we have to meet some basic survival needs first. And so at the very bottom of our, little food pyramid thing that everybody uses as the chart for Maslow is our physiological needs. So these are things like breathing, food, reproductive sex, sleep. Homeostasis means you don't have like the flu or cancer or other illness, and excretion means peeing, pooping, sweating, spitting, everything that's coming out of your body. If your physiological needs are not met, if those things you need to survive are not met, well, then your brain is not functioning in its frontal cortex. It's going to be functioning out of your survival responses or your amygdala area of the brain. This goes up to the next level up is going to be your safety and security. So this is going to be, do I feel safe with my body? Do I have employment? Are my resources predictably coming in the future? Or am I constantly in a state of hunting and gathering, needing to, go, okay, in order for me to eat, I need to go out and hunt or gather in order to feed myself. My morality, my family, the safety of my morality, the safety of my family, safety of my health, safety of my property. If any of my physical, spiritual, mental, or emotional needs don't feel safe in that moment, I'm going to have a really hard time functioning in my creative and problem solving brain space. The next one up is love and belonging. Do I feel connections in my friendship, in my family? This is where we get into sexual intimacy or our sense of connection with others. If we don't feel like we belong or have a community, our survival brain kicks in because humans are herd creatures. We need our other people, we need those connections to function at our best. We'll talk about the next two, the top two, at another show later on this week. Today, we're really going to focus on this bottom one, our physiological needs, but with the specific eating and pooping and peeing. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So there we've got our title, food and shit. Alex, if you can pull up the other chart, I really like this other chart because I like images. I'm more of a visual learner, and so for those of you that really need this more of that visual, like the little icon pictures, it just works better for me. So if for those of you who are just listening and not watching, our physiological needs here at the very bottom, you have your water. So there is science that demonstrates when you're dehydrated, your anxiety goes up astronomically. What that means is there's this worry, there's this frantic need going on under the surface. Now, sometimes when we're mildly or chronically dehydrated, we may not even identify that anxiety or that like hypervigilance or that feeling of tension, like I gotta go, gotta go, gotta go. We may not even realize that it is there. And when we're talking about hydration, any fluid that we can get into our body, or most fluids that we can get into our body, are going to be beneficial. But for our mental wellness, what we're finding is water is essential. Like no sugar. Coffee is a diuretic. So yes, you can have coffee in smaller doses. That works. Teas are really good. But again, most of us will put honey or something else in our tea, which gives us that sugar spike. Our bodies need at least 50% of the fluids that our body demands should be plain water. Now, we'll talk about let's put some lemon in it or something, and that's fine, but we need that water. Our bodies are made up of, I think, 80% water. I'd have to go back and look at all the statistics. And so when our body begins to get dehydrated, it threatens all of the other systems. It threatens our ability to sleep. It threatens our ability to digest and absorb nutrients from our food. It messes with our ability to temperature regulate. It messes with our ability to think clearly. Dehydration, like severe dehydration, is actually deadly. So for your own mental wellness, drinking enough water is important. So if you are struggling with anxiety or depression or mood instability, drinking enough water throughout the day is vital to those systems functioning properly. Okay. And you're going to hear this across all physical wellness platforms, all weight loss platforms. Hydration is necessary for our brains and bodies and vital organs to work effectively. The other thing that I really wanted to talk about today is food. We know now, years and years of research are demonstrating that the more junk food we bring into our body, and when I say junk food, I'm talking very specifically about processed food. Um, it really bogs down our physiological ability to filter foods out, which impact our endocrine system, so our hormone regulation. It impacts our digestive system, our ability to absorb nutrients, our excretion systems. It bogs it down. So when our body is having to work really hard to do its just daily functions of beating your heart, peeing and pooping, sleeping, hormone regulations, all of those systems are interconnected. And so when we are not eating in a manner that supports healthy bodily functions, our mental health suffers. When we look out there today, we are like number one in needing to be on antidepressants and psychotropic medications. We have the number one rate of obesity. We have more cancer. We have more hormonal issues than a lot of these other developed countries who are very strict in the foods that they put on their shelves. I like to clean eat. Now, sometimes I'm really good at it, and sometimes when my stress level gets really high or I feel really rushed, I fall off the bandwagon and I'm reaching for frozen pizzas and quick foods and snack foods and junk foods. And then I fall into that nasty cycle of it's really hard to get back into what I call clean eating. Clean eating does not mean eliminating dairy and grains and those. I'm not talking about some extreme diet. I'm talking about whole, non-processed foods as much as possible. And so what we're finding is that if you can get 80 to 85% of the food that you ingest, the food and the water that you ingest as whole foods, non-processed foods, your body is able to filter the junk out from the rest of the foods that you consume. And this increases your mental wellness. It reduces symptoms of anxiety. It improves your mood functioning. It also lowers blood pressure, increases circulatory systems, regulates hormone systems better. All of it gets better. If you can do better than 80% of clean food eating, all the better for you. This includes reducing your sugar intake. I love when I was pregnant, I had gestational diabetes, and I found out that when I was watching my simple sugar intake, I felt better overall. It was the best when I was food controlled or diet controlled eating during my pregnancy when I had gestational diabetes. I felt amazing during that pregnancy, and I was really good after that pregnancy to keep that up. I also saw the benefits of my weight being regulated, my skin being clear, my hair and nails looking better, my eyes being brighter. Like it impacts every system in our body. When you come back to this Maslow's chart and you look at these physiological needs, so we're talking about reproduction, we're talking about sleep, we're talking about food, we're talking about all those systems you need to survive. They all work in tandem with each other. So when we're doing our best to take care of all of those systems by the things we put in our mouth and the things that we then poop into the toilet or pee into the toilet or sweat out of our bodies, um, everything works better. And your mental wellness will improve. So and I'm not talking, again, I want to reiterate, I'm not talking about extreme diets. I'm not talking about cutting major food groups out. If you need to do that, great. I get it. Some of us have a lot of allergies and other things, but you know what? When you cut out processed foods, a lot of those allergies actually resolve themselves. So, again, my challenge to you is be honest with yourself. Check in with yourself. Find out what processed foods you're really struggling to live without. And let's find healthy alternatives. The Westbrook family, right now, my kids love potato chips. Love, love, love them. Doritos, all these highly processed potato chips. I have been doing, so we do like these slider sandwiches or some like open sandwiches sometimes for dinner. And when we do those sandwiches, we tend to have chips with them. Well, I've recently swapped potato chips and the processed chips out for carrot chips. And my kids love them. So yay me, we're really blessed. I know that a lot of families suffer with that. But because I just want that crunch and that chip feeling with my sandwiches, carrot chips are the goal for the Westbrook family for the next couple of months. And then as we move forward and we've like shifted our taste buds and stuff, we're going to add in more healthy alternatives to replace those processed alternatives. And as you do so, you will find everything feels better. ADHD symptoms will improve. Your focus will improve. Drink that water, get that water into your system. You will feel and function better. Do it slowly. I know it's difficult. So if you need help with that, also find yourself a professional coach. I have had a professional coach on diet and nutrition before to help me find solutions to eliminate some of the bad habits that I have and to introduce those food groups to my kiddos. Thanks so much for joining us today. We will talk to you next time. More Maslow for the next couple of weeks. Bye, everybody.